In 1227, Genghis Khan, leader of the largest land-based empire in the world, died. 799 years later, and Mojang released a Chaos Cubed update, and these two things are linked. Stay with me. The year is 1162, and Genghis Khan is born, but he's not called Genghis Khan. He's called Temujin, and he's born in Mongolia, specifically this part of Mongolia. Now, he did have a troubled childhood, but he was good at one thing: riding a horse and conquering tribes. Genghis Khan would often go to neighboring tribes, marry into their family. Genghis Khan was a womanizer, and then killed the rest of the men, which meant that by the age of 42, he actually controlled the whole of Mongolia, and as such was proclaimed the universal ruler, otherwise known as Genghis Khan. Now, from 1206 onwards, he launches massive military campaigns and creates an empire stretching from Korea all the way to Poland. However, in 1227, he dies. Now, obviously, with a great emperor dying, people usually want to get a bit of the pie, and in this case, the pie is an entire empire. Now, remember how I said that Genghis Khan was a womanizer? Well, he had quite a lot of descendants, which meant that whenever there was a family reunion, they would often fight, not about who got the last cookie, but who would control this massive empire. Eventually, the family comes to a conclusion: why don't you just split it? And so these separate Khanates form. But because none of them are as good as Genghis Khan, these Khanates do collapse. Now, despite Genghis Khan's empire never reaching Sweden, his influence spread far and wide, with ideas on civilization. Now, the Europeans get an idea of this, and they too have a good history of civilization: the Roman Empire, Alexander the Great, and the Vikings, who ruled much of the Norse world, which includes Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Finland, and Sweden. Eventually, the Viking Age does end, which meant that in 1611, on the 30th of October, the coronation of Gustavus Adolphus led to the creation of the Swedish Empire. Now, just like any Middle Age empire, it was a great power, and in 1658, they controlled much of Norway, bits of Denmark, Finland, and parts of Russia. However, after the Treaty of Nystad, on the 10th of September 1721, the Swedish Empire fell into a state of decline during the Age of Liberty, which led to the establishment of the Kingdom of Sweden. However, just like the last Swedish Empire, it also fell into a state of decline, with the king actually getting deposed on the 29th of March 1809. Less than a couple months later, the monarchy was restored, but this time as a new kingdom, the United Kingdom of Norway and Sweden, which lasted all the way from the early 1800s to the beginning of the 1900s. During World War I, although the Swedish were neutral, they did make things difficult for the Allies, and in the next World War, they did the same thing, maintaining neutrality, but also rage-baiting the Allies. However, after the post-war era, Sweden actually committed to the neutrality, refusing to join NATO or the Warsaw Pact. Meanwhile, in the 1970s, and video games are booming: Pac-Man, Super Mario Bros, Sonic the Hedgehog. And one person who really liked video games was a guy named Marcus Persson, otherwise known as Notch, who ended up liking video games so much, he wanted to make his own. And one day he looked at the game Infiniminer and said, how about I make a little copy of that? Minecraft officially launched in 2011, however in 2014, Marcus Persson left Mojang. Minecraft began to fall in popularity. They released Village and Pillage, which brought the game back. And then the next year, they released another update. And so they overpromised. They said in 2021 that they were going to add new caves, new cliffs, new structures, new biomes, but it became too much. And so after overworking and splitting the update into 2, no 3, no 4, no 5, no 20 million, they said, you know what? The old update system isn't working. How about we make this new update system? Drops. Then sometime in 2025, how about we make a cube, which if you punch it, can go anywhere. And then on the 13th of June 2026, Chaos Cubed was released. So there you go, that's how Genghis Khan's death led to the Chaos Cube drop. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.